This is the Hockey Podcast Network, your home for hockey talk on every team in the NHL.
Welcome to Offside by a Mile, the podcast for anything and everything Colorado Avalanche, and the official Avs podcast for the Hockey Podcast Network. Well, it's draft time, I guess.
Just like that.
Just like that. First of all, for all of you that listened to last week's episode and were yelling at your phone, your computer, if you're watching us on YouTube, you know, whatever you listened to the podcast on while we were rambling on about how the fucking free agency was the same day as the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm dumb, and Jared didn't correct me, and we just went on for a while about it, and it was a really dumb conversation. Yeah, so there was that. It was originally scheduled for Friday, Saturday, and then I totally forgot that they moved it. Just a winning move. I mean, really, to be honest, like, who gives a shit if it's during the week this year? Because, you know, I don't imagine a lot of people are going to watch, like usual. And, I mean, I don't think a lot of people watch anyway. Only, like, the hardest core fans.
Yeah. Slash, you know,
us.
Last place teams.
That too. Yeah. I mean, teams like the Sens and the Wings that haven't had hockey for the last 6 months.
I know, right? Yeah.
And aren't going to have hockey for the next 4 months. Yeah, I mean, they'll probably watch, for sure, because they're bored out of their mind. But, I mean, like, I'm going to tune in because I kind of, first of all, I want to see what they're going to do with it. I don't imagine it's going to be very good.
I mean, they're kind of limited, right? So
it's also the NHL. And when it comes to manufacturing entertainment, they don't do a very good job.
We'll find some cringe in there.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have some sort of, like, comedy host or something just out of nowhere. You're like, why? What?
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
I really hope they don't do that.
One other thing I was kind of thinking about just while we're on that topic is I wonder if there's going to be, like, a top prospect game, kind of that kind of stuff too, right? And, like, all these, like, you know, lots of teams do like young stars tournaments kind of. I know, like, and the Flames, Vancouver, exactly. It's going to be interesting just to see everything that unravels in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd imagine that'll still be an option because, right, they were saying near the end of the playoffs how they were going to let teams keep their training facilities open this summer quotes, right. Fall, whatever, this off season.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a maximum of 12 players on the ice at one time.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd imagine that they'd be able to bring their rookies. I don't imagine there's going to be a rookie tournament like most off seasons,
right?
Or summer times, because normally it's like right after the draft, right? Like a month or so after.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even.
It's kind of like the first little thing of hockey you see, right?
Yeah.
Like I know that they always do like that Penticton tournament, which is
like that's the Flames in Vancouver and Winnipeg. And
I don't think Winnipeg was part of it last year, were they?
But I pardon me, I don't know what the Avs do. Definitely haven't been around for an off season yet. But,
right.
I don't imagine we see anything like that. I mean, the prospects game is behind us. It did happen this year, right? Like the CHL top prospects game.
Yeah,
that happened before this all happened because that's normally Christmas. Or wait, no, that's
the top prospects game is usually like
February or March, isn't it?
I'm trying to think actually. Fuck, I don't even remember.
I think it did happen though.
I'm pretty sure it did.
But yeah, like I mean, when it comes to that for us in Canada, like I don't even know if any CHL leagues are gonna go.
Right.
I saw a thing the other day that the Ontario Hockey League is going to go, their Ministry of Health or whatever the hell is telling them to ban fighting and body contact or body checking to play.
God.
Get the hell out of here.
Okay.
What? Like, don't like. That's not good for anyone.
Yeah, that's like a different game entirely.
Yeah, like here, go play female hockey for a while.
Yeah,
and then get yourself ready for the big show in the NHL.
How do you even
like? That's if
they're taking out checking.
And
what does that mean too?
Yeah,
like. Are you saying literally no body contact?
Well, yeah, right.
Because like there's like even in women's hockey, like there's
contact.
Lots of contact along the boards. Scuffles along the boards. Like,
I'm not saying this like a dick. I'm not trying to be, but like female hockey, no checking. Like that's what I'm saying, right? Like that's basically the rules you're telling them to go play.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. Like
that's odd.
To be honest, like as Canadian, obviously, I mean Americans too. Like we're at the top of the world in women's hockey, and it is watching the U.S. and Canada play a female hockey game is so good. Fucking entertaining.
So good.
But for these kids that are growing up trying to become NHLers, to tell them to play a full season without body checking, fighting, sure, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the fighting's on.
You shouldn't have to fight in junior. Period.
Yeah, some of the craziest fights are in junior though.
And especially in the OHL, like they're really cracking down on fighting anyway.
Well, yeah,
that's not crazy.
They get tossed out of the game now.
They get tossed out of the game, and I think
tossed.
After like 5 fights, you get suspended for a few games and stuff. Like they're really cracking down, trying to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the QMJHL is doing the same, like getting the same kind of thing with like the rules that they're gonna have to go by to play, and it's just like I don't know. I'd kind of compare it to like college football and stuff, where it seems unnecessary to put these kids at risk of catching COVID for a job, like for a occupation that doesn't really pay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it pays, like you're investing in your future, but like it doesn't pay at the moment. And whether or not you play 5 games this year versus no games, I don't think it's going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just it's a really crazy, weird landscape. It's the same as this draft this year. We kind of talked about it before, where right with the lottery and stuff, and just like everybody kind of being worried about when the draft was going to happen so they could begin developing their prospects, and how now basically they're 3-4 months behind.
Yeah.
In theory, developing their prospects that they should have had in June. Like,
right. And plus all these players haven't played hockey in an epically long time.
That's you. It's 2020. There's no best situation anymore, I don't think.
And
but
there's
like,
no way to predict what
I'm interested to see what U.S. hockey does, like college U.S. hockey and stuff like that, and like the U.S. development program. Like a lot of guys that are going to be U.S. draft picks, NHL draft picks from the U.S. come out of that national development program.
NCAA and everything.
I don't know how they're going to deal with that. We sit here, we cover the NHL, obviously, and it's hard to see how they're going to deal with COVID. It was hard to see how they were going to deal with the playoffs with COVID. It's even harder to see how they're going to deal with the regular season and COVID.
Yeah. That's a whole other beast, right?
And this is a business that makes money. Like, straight up makes money on TV deals and stuff. And yes, college football does too. But leagues like the AHL, leagues like, some college hockey programs, like, there's not that much money that goes into sub hockey levels.
Right.
And I'm really interested to see how that's going to work, and then how it's going to affect the future of prospects in the NHL.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, just speaking of different leagues and stuff, me and Brett were kind of talking before the podcast about just how the Flames just sent Juuso Välimäki to Finland to play, and their season starts this weekend. Yeah,
well, Juuso Saarinen, he's played a game or two, I think, already over there too.
Okay, yeah, so it'll be interesting just to see kind of their format, I guess, just as a little, piece of whatever.
Sidebar.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, the draft is Tuesday.
Indeed.
Not Friday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, the 6th of October, and the 7th for rounds 2 to 7.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of that, I'm kind of surprised they didn't change that up a little bit.
Right, and actually, I was wondering, I wasn't actually sure about what they were doing with that. I was thinking maybe they will do all 7 rounds.
But I think the reason it's still going to be split the same way is because I think they still want prime time for round 1.
Right.
Which means you started at like 6 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern, maybe 8. And then you're not exactly going to be picking prospects till midnight.
Yeah.
Right, so like it still makes sense because I'm sure they're doing that for TV still. But yeah, I mean, the Avs picked 25th for now. I don't imagine they're going to move up.
You wouldn't think.
I don't imagine, but will they move down? That's a good question. The one thing, like, I'm not about to claim I know anything about most prospects coming up in the draft. That is not my expertise, if you even want to call any of this expertise, since I don't even know when the draft was. But the Avs. I was just reading Adrian Dater's column on the draft from Colorado. Whoa. Good English. Colorado Hockey Now. And he has a couple of quotes from Alan Heppel, who's the chief scout for the Avs. And he also puts in this article that the Hockey News recently rated the Avs number 1 in their farm team or their prospect pool.
Right.
Sweet. Awesome. That's fantastic, especially considering that they have the 25th pick this year. Also considering they don't have a second-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And they just went to the second round of the playoffs again to Game 7. Like, sweet. The prospect pool, we all kind of know. Like, Newhook, solid. Byram, solid. Timmins, still a prospect, solid.
Yeah.
As long as he's healthy. Martin Kaut is still a prospect, solid. Like, going to be an NHLer, right? Like, there's a lot of talent there that's very much looking like NHL talent.
Mm-hmm.
Justus Onanen, hopefully goalie of the future. That would be great, right? So, I'm not really surprised to see them ranked number 1. I'm not. That being said, would it make sense to move up from 25th? If the right guy is available, like, this happens every draft. If you're looking around and you're sitting at 25th and the guy you really want looks like he's going to get taken by a team in front of you, you're going to want to try and move up if you really, really, really want that guy.
Yeah, if you got your heart set on someone, yep.
Again, I don't know if that's a place where the Avs are. Personally, to me, this pick screams trade down.
Yeah, if anything.
Yeah, right. Like, that's just kind of the way I feel with, like, the 25th pick. If somebody wants to give you decently early second and, like, a 4th or something, sweet, sure.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a very good chance that at 25, the guy you pick is not going to be NHL ready in the next 2 years, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Avs move down, I wouldn't be shocked. That being said, all I want for the Avs and all that Alan Heppel wants for the Avs, thankfully, which is awesome, I'm super glad to read this, is I want the Avs to pick the best player.
Right.
Don't give a shit about position. They have forwards coming. They have defense coming. Goalies, picking them in the first round is idiotic anyway.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble in the 7th round.
Yeah.
Never mind in the first round.
Yeah, goalies. I don't know if we've really talked about that, but we've always said to each other, like, goalies are the hardest, right? And everyone knows that anyway.
Look at I'm not saying Francois is Carey Price, but he was free.
Yeah.
No pick.
Right.
Period. Right?
I mean, look at Tim Thomas, right?
I was going to say, there's plenty of history on goalies that come out of nowhere.
Dude won a fucking Stanley Cup, and he didn't even get drafted, so,
Mikko Koskinen, also not a stud, but
right.
cost the Oilers nothing except for money.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
And then too, right? You look at that, like, how many goalies that are picked in the first round actually become studs?
It's like almost rare.
Yeah.
In a way, like Carey Price is like probably a.
Well, Fluery was first overall.
Yeah.
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But even then, like, right, Carey Price, Tuukka Rask, they were back-to-back picks, I believe.
Yeah, what was that, like 4th and 5th?
I think it was 6th and 7th or something.
Yeah.
And then the Leafs traded Tuukka Rask for Andrew Raycroft. Woo!
Yeah, great trade.
Killed it. So good.
But and then, like who's the other?
Carter Hart's
was Pogge a first-round pick?
I believe so,
yeah.
and he went. Yeah, he went absolutely nowhere for the Leafs too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carter Hart, he's a first-round pick.
Yeah,
looks like he's going to be a stud.
Yeah,
but I feel like there's 5 or 6 goalies that look like they're going to be studs that don't. Like you just said, Pogge, right? Like,
right.
There's a lot of guys that are first-round goalie picks that just don't do anything.
It's hard to judge a goalie in junior because it's just not even close to the same.
Yeah, and like you'd think it would have kind of a similar percentage to skaters because the game speeds up for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But man, goalies it just, to me as a goalie nerd, what it seems like is the case. It's kind of, to me, what's happening with Matt Murray as well, is once the scouting gets a hold of a goalie, like once NHL scouts get a hold of a goalie, that That's a hole. That's a hole.
Yeah,
that's a weakness. That's a weakness.
Pick them right apart.
NHL shooters not only hit that corner, but they hit it with speed. And if you can't adjust and get better, you're not making the show. And I feel
traffic,
like,
right?
to me, that's what Matt Murray's having issues with is the weakness has been exposed and exposed and exposed, and he just can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now in his head, and here we are.
And was it Lehner or something that I'm trying to think? I just remember a comment on broadcast of a game in the playoffs, and the one I honestly can't even remember. This going to sound dumb, but it was just like, oh, they must have a read on like a low blocker on this goalie.
I think that was Dobby.
Oh,
actually.
yeah. And you can see it.
Now.
They continuously shoot because they know, right? And they're told this is the hole. Look at the video. Look at,
Well, and two, right? Like these guys are so good that we're all told. I mean, we as in like hockey players are all told keep your head up, look for the hole, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of times, especially in NHL, when you don't have time to look, and if these guys just hit. Okay, it's in the back of your mind, shoe blocker. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's just muscle memory.
And eventually, he's going to make a mistake, whether it's a rebound or he's just going to miss it, right? And yeah, I think when I saw the same thing you saw, I think it was like over half of the goals that were scored on Dobby were blocker side, low.
Yeah, low blocker. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, that's not a coincidence, guys. It's not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the way it feels like with goalies. And then when you compare that to junior, they don't have the scouts to necessarily catch those weaknesses. Plus, you have way more opponents. Like, they don't play them for nearly as long, right? The players are shuffled out more, all that stuff, right? Plus, you also don't have the skilled shooters on every single team that are everybody. Like, everybody.
Exactly. I was going to say the volume of skilled shooters. Cause
fourth liners in the NHL can shoot.
Oh, yeah. Like, see some of the goals.
They may not look like Nathan McKinnon, but let me tell you put them on a beer league ice, and they're going to destroy you.
Belmar sniped a few.
Right,
Same with Calvert, and look at our fourth line.
That's, to me, why goalies are just so hard to pick.
And then just, like, the mental part of the game, which is just so much more highlighted in the goaltender position.
Well, yeah, right? Again, we've talked about it on this podcast. It's between goaltending, consistency is between the ears to the max. Like, that's just how it is, right? But back to the draft. Like, and I'm super stoked that Heppel said this, but pick the best player available, especially the best skater.
Right.
As far as I've heard, it's a deep draft. I mean, it's got to be incredibly deep to get like a legit prospect at 25. But we've seen it. We've seen it for a long time out of Detroit. I mean, not so much recently, but they love taking the guy that slides.
Yeah.
They love like he doesn't play defense very well. Well, guess what? We'll teach him how to do that.
His ass, yeah.
He can score. I want him, right?
Yeah.
And you look at some of the other teams around the league, Toronto kind of like that, where they just stockpile offense.
Right.
You can trade it. You can trade that for other. If they're studs, you can trade it for whatever you need.
Yeah. Assets, man.
So again, best player available. They'll be at the very least, they'll be an asset for a trade.
And I'm glad that's kind of the view on it because, like you said already, we ain't experts in the prospect department. No. But that's exactly how we talked right before we started recording. That's both how we felt anyway. And I'm just glad that, a professional feels the same way.
Yeah. One of the guys that runs the show for the team we watch. Yeah, sweet, cool, right on.
Because that's all I could think about too, looking at the whole prospect pool and the up 10 and below 10 of kind of where we're picking. I'm just like, I don't see a position where we're glaringly. Is that a word?
Glaringly.
Thank you. There's no T. Glaringly. But we have like you said, pretty saturated prospect pool, so no glaring weaknesses in that case. So it's good. Get the best player we can.
And I mean, this is the fun part, I'd say, about being in the position the Avs are for draft day is that you get to watch players fall to you.
Yeah, and it tends to happen.
It definitely happens. Every year there's a guy. Last year it was, a couple of years ago was Mantha to Detroit.
Right.
And again, like I said, it was because he can't play defense. And the Detroit Red Wings were like, fuck it, we'll try.
Yeah. And then now look at him, right? He had a really good season.
He was I think their best player until he got injured.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's easy. The bar was set pretty low. It's Detroit.
Yeah, what was it? Like the first 4 games, he had like 8 goals or something.
Yeah. I mean, Larkin was
that.
probably statistically better, but Mantha was a stud for a while. And then he got concussed and
He's got a hell of a shot.
life wasn't very good. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. You can't teach a Patrick Laine-like shot.
Right.
Or a Matthews-like shot. Or a McKinnon-like speed.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff like that. If you see the guy has an IQ, hell yeah. Right? Some things you just can't teach.
Right.
Detroit loves to teach defense.
And
that's how they made the playoffs 24 years in a row.
And
right?
that's another thing is coachability, right? Because
right.
that makes a big difference too.
But, you sit there on draft day, you watch the draft, and you start watching guys drop. And, sometimes you get disappointed because you're like, oh, I'd love to be able to get that guy. And, he gets drafted a couple teams in front of you. Whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But every once in a while, you see that guy drop. You see the guy. Hopefully this year we see the Avs take that guy. And then he flourishes and life is good. And it was a great pick. And you look at, like, the Brayden Point story, and you're like,
right.
oh, man, he was a 73rd overall pick.
73rd.
72 teams, 72 chances to get picked, and nobody took him until Tampa Bay at 73.
Yeah, exactly.
And he should have won the Conn Smythe, in my opinion.
See what he did this year, exactly.
Right? And wins a cup,
yeah.
Period. Pure and simple, right? Like, it's obviously the Avs are 25. It's very different than 73. However, the Avs' next pick in the draft is 75.
Yeah.
So, Brayden Point 2.0?
For sure.
For sure.
No doubt about it.
Guaranteed, you betcha. But again, speaking of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Cup, their boat parade, whatever the hell you want to call it, happened this week. I think it was Friday, Saturday, no, Thursday, Friday, something like that.
Yeah, whatever day it was, yeah.
Everything blends together. I kind of find it funny, the internet being the way it is. Some people loved the way the Tampa Bay Lightning handled their parade. Some people hated the way the Tampa Bay Lightning handled their parade, including a few people on Avs Twitter that said, I'm glad the Avs didn't win the Cup this year because then we didn't have to deal with that and blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of glad. Like, I'll give you that because spreading COVID for a parade is insane. And like we said, of course, it was Florida.
Yeah.
And the thing that made me laugh was the people on Twitter that applauded their parade, whatever, procedure, or how they went about it. I don't understand you. I really don't understand the people that applauded that. Because it's not about the people that are in the parade. It's the people that attend the parade.
Yeah.
And guess what? They were all side by side.
Yeah.
On the streets beside the friggin' ravine or whatever the hell you want to call that. The canal, whatever. I don't even know where it was. But they were all shoulder to shoulder watching the parade of boats drive by.
And it was like we talked about, during Game 6. It was Game 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure I'm not falling asleep on that. But just the flash over camera view of like the bar. I don't know
wherever the hell there was a viewing party,
whatever that was, and it's just like social distancing. Okay,
that doesn't exist in Florida, Jared.
It's just like there's a lot of people there, and I don't really see any mass.
It's been months since they social distance on the beach. They might as well not social distance in the restaurants.
So, it's just, it's not good for anyone in a way.
Speaking of everyone, though, I did see DNVR posted a thing about a watch party for the draft at the DNVR bar.
Okay.
So if you're going, just be safe.
Exactly.
I would love to. It's one of the things I miss the most about sports in general is A, going to live events, just like anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But B, being in the atmosphere.
Right.
That's the thing that I miss the most. And going to the bar for that, like to watch a game, to watch the Cup final, whatever, that's the atmosphere that you miss the most with this. So, like, I don't blame people that are going to go. Just be safe. Just be good about it.
Yeah.
It's all good. But yeah, I laughed at the people that were like, oh, it's so, doing the parade on the water, it's so revolutionary. It's so good for COVID. It's like the people that are in the parade didn't need more room. They just spent 2 months together.
Yeah.
And their families that are on the boats with them are their families. So they just got exposed to whatever the hell they already had. All that shit, that did not matter. It was the people on the side of the water that were watching the parade go by, celebrating. That is the problem with the parade. And I just watched it, and I watched all the praise, and I was like, is this real life?
Yeah. And I mean, it's just so scary for next season, right? It's just there's so much doubt, and then you see these kinds of things, and you're like, is this necessary?
Well, and it's like, it's also why I don't believe the mid-December, late December,
it's hard
January
to believe it, right?
Start date is going to happen, because we watch MLB do it, go through their COVID issues.
And then you just pointed out,
and then
Cam Newton,
I just saw, because I'm a Pats fan. Hate me, please go for it. I don't blame you at all. Cam Newton has COVID, and he's missing Sunday's game for the Patriots. The Tennessee Titans had 5 or 6 guys that had COVID and all that shit, and it's just like, here we go. And I find it hard to believe that the NHL is going to go ahead with a season where they don't have a prospect of fans being in buildings.
Yeah.
I don't expect the season to start. Like, I don't expect them to wait to start the season until fans are allowed in buildings. But I expect them to wait to start until you can see, like, we're maybe like a month or 2 away to at least 50% capacity or something. Just because, again, a reminder, players don't make money in the playoffs. They get some bonuses and stuff. Coaching staffs get bonuses, management teams get bonuses, stuff like that. But there's no salaries getting paid to players in the cup or in the playoffs.
And even more so this year, I'm sure.
Yeah. Right? Well, I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago with, like, coaches straight up not getting paid.
Right.
On multiple teams, right? And I don't know if the NHL will go into a season straight up just paying everyone full salaries. We watched it with baseball too. Like, the shit show that was baseball, trying to get salaries cut because, they were going from 162 games to 70 or 62 or something,
65 or 4 or whatever,
whatever the hell they went down to. So they were trying to cut salaries and stuff by that, and it was crazy. And again, I think the NHL is going to try for a full season. If that actually happens, I don't know. If it starts in January, they might be able to get a full 82. I think that's crazy. I feel like it's going to be short.
It's going to be crazy, yeah.
Again, I don't really think it matters if it's 62, if it's 60, if it's 82. I think back to the lockout shortened season. That was a fun season.
It was pretty epic.
Getting to the playoffs that fast was like, this is fucking sweet.
Yeah. Maybe the Avalanche would have less injuries that way.
But I find it hard to hold my breath for that, just because I don't financially see how it's going to work. Another thing, I really want to see what it costs to host the bubbles.
Yeah.
I really want to see that number. Because I am so stoked that the NHL pulled it off.
Yeah, and
without a single case. Not a coaching staff member, not
Pretty
a
epic.
Personnel member, not a player, nothing. Awesome. That is epic.
Yeah.
If it's true.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play the conspiracy card. I think it's true. I'm going to plead ignorance at the moment. Again, the NBA, they did it too so far. And they're in the finals. It's looking like it's going to be the same process, which is all well and good. It's easy to do. Well, sorry, it's easier to do. I'm not saying it's easy. It's easier to do than fly around to like the NFL and the MLB. But you can't run a regular season like that. And when the only thing you have to worry about really is the bill of hosting the bubble.
Right.
To make your revenue, your TV revenues, I think it's doable. Which is why it got done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole other beast.
Running a full season, I don't imagine it's gonna be in bubbles. I think it's crazy, and I think it's crazy to hold your breath for that. That being said, I couldn't imagine being a team that didn't make this play-in round.
Yeah, exactly right.
Or not even like a fan of one of those teams.
Yeah, exactly.
The players for that team or the fans of the team, because you're already looking at what? I guess if it's January, we'll call it 8 months or 9 months because it was March, right?
Yeah,
So
March,
9 months,
what,
9 and a half
13th or
months,
14th or whatever. Yeah,
right? Like that's if it starts January 1st, that's 9.5 months without hockey,
yeah, it's so crazy to think.
right? And it's just like holy shit, dude. So I don't know. I just it's gonna be crazy.
For sure, man.
I know you said you wanted to talk about Point before we get too far away from the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
So for those that don't really notice, Brayden Point's from Calgary. Jared has played hockey with his brother.
You're supposed to let me fucking talk about
so
this. It's
sorry.
okay. It's okay.
I just wanted to introduce it.
Anyway, yeah. So you guys all know, or most of you should know, that we are from Calgary. All three of us, including Brett, Mr. Producer Man, behind the scenes. We all, grew up and spent the majority of our childhood in Calgary. So I moved to Calgary in 1998 in the summer and moved from Winnipeg over to here. I was, just a little 7-year-old kid. My first best friend was actually, lived on my street. His name was Riley. And this story, I just wanted to take you guys down a little bit of my memory lane here and why I was, pretty emotional when the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup this year. It was definitely the, top team that I wanted to win other than Colorado and, probably a little bit the Flames. You just got to say that. But yeah, this story isn't about me and it's not about Riley, but it's about his younger brother. And that man's name is Brayden Point. And, it's pretty crazy because I knew this guy when he was 2 years old is the first time I met Brayden Point. And it's just remarkable. And right now, just talking about it, I'm getting goosebumps. And it was pretty crazy. All of Game 5 and all of Game 6, I'm just sitting there like, this man is living out his dreams right here. And he is like the key, like a very, very key part of this team. He missed the freaking Conn Smythe Trophy by basically one vote.
Yeah.
Victor Hedman beat him out by one vote. But I just wanted to talk about, how you have to be to make the NHL. And we saw this, we as in me, Riley, his brother, I would say probably his whole family, everyone that lived on our block, every one of his friends. This kid bled hockey. And I just want to talk about 3 little aspects of his character that really just makes up an NHL star. And that's, first off, athletic prowess and just an ability to basically pick up anything and be excellent at it. Not just, pick it up, be able to do it. This kid, okay, so I moved here in 98. He was 2 years old. The following year, this kid was just ripping around on a bike. 3 years old, top speed, just fucking giving her, dude. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, this kid is tiny. That's another thing. This kid is small. Small little guy, 3 years old, ripping on a bike. You're like, oh, okay. That's interesting. And then, the years go on and you see him start to play hockey and you're like, okay. First off, this kid fucking loves hockey. There's so many memories I have of just being over at the Points house. And Brayden's just like sitting on the couch with a fucking hockey helmet on and his new gloves and a stick. And he's just sitting there, and then you just get up and you just kind of see him using his imagination. He'd be like, just kind of just going around the house, wearing some hockey gloves and a jersey. And then, so the next thing I wanted to talk about with his characteristics is dedication. This kid would, okay, so the Points eventually put in a nice, every winter they would flood the backyard, make a nice little hockey rink. There was only 1 year, unfortunately, because me and Riley were such good friends, that we played on the same hockey team. But we would go out on that, backyard ice. We'd go out there, 5 times a week, spend, an hour out there just shooting pucks around. Of course, Brayden would be out there too. Me and Riley, after about an hour, would be like, okay, yeah, let's go in. We'd go play some video games or something, watch a movie. Come back upstairs, a few hours later. Brayden Point is just sitting out there still, just shooting pucks, skating around. He's been out there for like fucking 4 hours. We're like, Brayden, are you going to come in? He's just like, yeah, I'll be in a bit. It's like, pushing 8 o'clock. His parents are like, Brayden, you got to go to bed. He's just like, just give me a little bit. He's just shooting
5 more minutes, Mom.
Exactly. Just shooting pucks. All the road hockey. Like, he would just be out there in the summer shooting balls. Just, we all did it too. Just like using our imagination. It's just so funny because there'd be nobody outside on, certain days. And you just see Brayden out there by himself, just fucking running around shooting the ball, So, like, this kid loved hockey. And speaking of, like, organized hockey, like, you'd go watch this guy play hockey when he's, like, 6, 7, 8 years old. And this guy is ripping pucks, dude. Like, and speaking, like, first starting hockey, like 5 years old, Timbits hockey. This is what we call it in, in Calgary and probably in a lot of Canada. I think they have it around. But, like, Tim Hortons sponsored, or I don't know if they still do it.
Yeah, it's still Tim.
They do? Okay, good.
They do Timbits, and then McDonald's is Adam. Atomic hockey.
Oh, atomic. Anyway, he'd be in the Timbits hockey, which is basically like house league. I don't know, like, 5, 6 year olds. And like raising pucks, just scoring, endless amounts of goals. And like, yeah, the goalies suck, but like he's putting it top shelf and shit. You're like, oh, okay. Fast forward a few more years and he's actually, into like, Division 1 community hockey. And he's scoring like 4, 5, 6 goals a game, and their team is winning every game because of Brayden. And like, let's not, pussyfoot around this. Brayden carried every single team. So we played for Blackfoot Hockey Association. Tyler did, Brett did, I did. Easily the best player to ever play Blackfoot, Brayden Point.
The only NHL jersey hanging on the wall.
I think it is, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And easily their teams were the best Blackfoot teams. So, that gives you just dedication, dude. This guy loved hockey. His dream, I think, from fucking, I don't know, ask him. I'm sure since he was like 4 years old.
Every little Canadian kid's dream is playing the NHL.
Yeah, and his
was like super duper. Yeah, his dream.
Yeah, he lived that shit. Like, he just wanted to play hockey. That's all he wanted to do. But the third thing, and this kind of ties into competitiveness and just raw emotion and heart. Like, so I'm 5 years older than Brayden. Riley was 4. He's a year younger than me. But Brayden absolutely could not deal with losing to us in anything. Literally anything. And we'd always be like, Brayden, like, we're older, we're bigger than you. And he would be crying like, no, let's play again. Let's play again. It didn't matter what we were doing. Anything athletic, he was like, no. Like, we're doing this again, and I'm going to fucking beat you guys. And I'm not going to lie, he did beat us on occasion, for sure. Like, for sure. But there was the time, like, when I was about, I think, 13, that's when me and Riley were on the same team in Pee Wee. And Brayden was better than me at hockey already. Like, I could see, like, this kid could shoot the puck better than me. He's like 8 years old, and he's got a better shot than me. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, how is he better than me already? But just crazy. And that just shows like his emotion. Like, he needed to win. And like, when he didn't win, he was upset. And I think that just kind of further goes into just like the character he is now. And you look at some of the interviews that this kid had, like all throughout the playoffs. Like I go back to the Scott Oak interview, who's the, like main, a huge broadcaster.
The guy for Hockey Night in Canada up
for
here.
CBC and Sportsnet. And like, he was saying too, like, when he got drafted in, what do they call it, exceptional status or whatever, to the WHL, and he was like 5'3" and 110 pounds. And he's, talking about his size and, like, how does it feel to overcome so many people's criticism of your size and everything? And he just blows it off. Doesn't even talk about himself ever. The most humble guy out there, for sure. Well, like one of the most humble characters out there. And he would just be like, nah, I'm just so proud of the way our team came together. And Scott Oak, you could tell he's trying to get him to talk about himself. But Brayden's just like, no, I'm just so happy for my team. And you see him play on the ice. And that's why I admire also the fact that he knows how to control his emotions so much. Like how often do you actually see Brayden emotional on the ice? You don't really see it. He just dead focus all the time. So, I mean, I'll stop ranting anyway, but that was, it just, I'm so proud of him, and I'm just so happy for him and happy for his family. And it's epic, man. He lived out his dreams, came this close to Conn Smythe. I mean, if they go again, I wouldn't doubt if he gets another one.
He wasn't injured.
Right, and he was even injured in those playoffs. He came back, and who knows what kind of ailments he was even dealing with still, throughout the rest of the games that he played. But just an epic dude, and just goes to show you that, especially in this day and age, height, weight, your stature only dictates so much now. There's room for the small player. And especially the way that he plays the game, he's not scared as shit.
It doesn't matter the size of the player, it's the size of the heart. Yeah. And that is to the max Brayden Point.
Yeah, he's got a massive heart. So just wanted to give you a little inside kind of scoop on the NHL mind. And, also, it's just funny because thinking back to childhood and everything, that's why I knew I couldn't make the NHL. Because I didn't have that kind of dedication. You fucking kidding me?
He wanted to play video games like a loser.
Yeah. I wanted to go party eventually. Party and fucking play video games and go do other shit. I did a bunch of other shit. Just skateboarding, mountain biking. You got to be hockey all day long. Every summer. Your summers are spent in hockey camps. But if that's what you love to do, it's like what they say, if you love what you do, then is it really work, kind of thing. You
never work a day in your life.
Exactly. So, congrats Brayden Point and congrats Tampa, because that was really cool to see and made my heart all fuzzy, man.
Oh.
I was, honestly, I was pretty much tearing up just seeing him lift the cup and everything, and just seeing him all happy about it. It was really cool. So, there you go. Little inside info on Brayden Point.
Hopefully. Now, unfortunately, Jerry doesn't have that same kind of inside scoop on Cale Makar, but I mean,
yeah, I didn't know him. It's funny because you you retweeted that little video that they made when they were kids.
That is the funniest video about Cale Makar.
So good. I need to know who his buddy is too.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because you look at the street and you're like, that's totally a Calgary street right there.
100%.
It's crazy.
Conveniently, before I forget, because I probably should have done this before Jared's rant, but after Jared's rant, we're going to throw it in anyway. This week's Hockey Podcast Network promo is conveniently the Bolts guys, the Bolts broadcast, I believe it's called, right? Obviously, they're loving life right now, a little more so than the Avs. I mean, again, like we said last week, the week before, whatever, at least it wasn't Dallas. I don't care. At least it wasn't Dallas.
How much worse would have that felt, right?
Oh, God. But yeah, they're happy as a clam, and here's their little 1-minute promo.
Do you want a true champion's perspective? Well, come on over to the Bolts broadcast, where we talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, have some friendly banter, and of course, hockey name of the day.
If you pronounce it, you can get it.
Anthony Nunschwander.
You didn't pronounce it right. That's up. Anthony
Nunschwander.
It's N-E-U-E-N. It's Neuenschwander. Anthony Neuenschwander.
Dude, I always slept in German class, so I don't know how you expected me to put that together. Come on.
You only took it for 4 years.
I took it for 2.
Took it for 2 years? Oh no, J-Do took it that long.
I took it for 2 years and was asleep in all of German too.
Oh, you only took it in junior high. You didn't take it in high school at all.
No. Yeah, she sent us across the hallway, and it was me and I don't know, 5 other people, and all we did was just goof off because it was an empty room of just us while she was too busy yelling at you guys because you guys were a terrible class.
No, we weren't terrible class. A couple people were terrible people. Not going to mention names. Not going to call it anybody in this pod. It was
Chase
not
Crawshaw.
It was 100% not me.
Oh boy, I know a couple of those names, but yeah, it's a good point, Chase. We won't mention those here. New episodes every Monday, only on the Hockey Podcast Network.
All right. Well, I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you go listen to them at all. If you need some winning in your life, go listen to the Bolts broadcast. Until then, you have us. Now, we haven't really talked about free agency today yet because, I mean, the draft is important. And it's, the first thing, not the same thing.
First things first.
But free agency opens Friday, and we kind of talked about how the Avs should be looking at defensive upgrades and goaltending upgrades. Well, things got a little spicy on Saturday. Robin Lehner signs a 5-year, $5 million deal with the Vegas Golden Knights, an extension, I guess, because it's not free agency yet, so it's all extensions right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Tristan Jarry signs the 3-year, $3.5 million per year deal, right? 3 years, right?
Yep, 3-year, $10.5 million.
Now, this doesn't really change anything free agent-wise because I didn't expect the Avs to go get Robin Lehner. I didn't really want them to go get Robin Lehner.
Right.
And again, this doesn't really change the free agent market. But what it does change is it changes the trade market.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been kind of talking about it. And now, most of the time, you're probably not necessarily looking at a goalie for a goalie trade. But because the Avs have Grubauer and Francouz, one of them has to leave if they're going to go get somebody. Whether they get them first and then they trade one of them after, whatever. But I've seen a bunch because Henrik Lundqvist got bought out as well this week.
The king.
And I've seen it on Twitter that the Avs should make the call. And I think that's insanity.
I don't like that.
I hate it.
Yeah, dude.
Brett and I talked about it when you were sick a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The only way the Avs make a move at goalie is to upgrade on Grubauer.
Right.
For sure upgrade. Not gamble he might be better. If you sign Henrik Lundqvist, he's not playing in the minors. He's not your third string goalie. He's not going to ride the press box all year.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you think that, why'd you sign him?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that
and he's
Hank,
not getting better.
The king, he deserves a Stanley Cup on his resume.
Hell yeah.
Just like Jerome McGinley did.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened when Jerome McGinley came to Colorado?
I mean, the first year was good.
He was fine.
Yeah.
But he didn't push them over the edge.
Yeah, it's not like
Hank is not pushing them over the edge.
No. That's ludicrous to
If you want to get
that.
a depth guy, that's fine. But that's not Hank.
Yeah.
Again, Robin Lehner is not Hank. Tristan Jarry may, possibly, if he was available still, could have been your depth guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Penguins are hoping otherwise, and then Matt Murray may be available now.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine Marc-Andre Fluery is available now.
It seems like, and, we all saw the pictures.
The sword in the back is
and all that.
Still pretty fresh.
Exactly. So, there's at least somewhat of a rift there already. As much as Fleury wants to brush it off, I'm sure there's a little bit of a broken relationship, or a fragile relationship.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't have signed Robin Lehner to 5 years at $5 million if they didn't think that Fleury was on his way out.
Right.
Because the Vegas Golden Knights, we've talked about it, how it's mind-blowing that they can afford their roster the way it is. They're apparently still in the running for Pietrangelo.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I don't understand how they make the money work. But having $12 million in goalies doesn't make that easy. So
and doesn't make sense.
It doesn't really make sense either.
Yeah.
Now, the Lehner deal, he's 35, I think, at the end of the deal, maybe 34. I think it's a pretty good deal. 5 years, $5 million each.
Hell yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's recency bias that people think it's so good, though. He hasn't had 5 good years.
And that's
in the NHL.
That is 5 years of a starting goalie in his 30s. We've seen lots of goalies start. Man, we just can't talk today.
Our English is real good today.
Start to taper off at about that 32, 33-year-old age, right? So, I mean, to say that he's going to have 5 seasons like this season, is a stretch.
You can hope he's like Fluery and plays well till he's 35.
Yeah.
But they're kind of giving up on Fluery because he's 35 and has seemingly had a bad year.
Yeah.
Again, Fleury's making $2 million more than Lehner, but I don't think this is as good of a deal as people think, because the last 2 years of that deal could look very bad.
Right.
But Vegas is trying to win today, not tomorrow. Clearly, with the deals that they have with Max Pacioretty, Mark Stone,
right?
If they're gonna go get Pietrangelo, right? Like they're in win now mode for sure, and they should be. This roster is super duper built for right now,
for sure.
But I don't know. I'm not saying that Marc-Andre Fleury is the answer in Colorado necessarily. I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but I love Marc-Andre Fleury. He was my favorite goalie in the league until Carey Price showed up. I think mostly it was the yellow pads that made me really like him most at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it was also the fact that he's just flexible as hell, and he's fun to watch. He's super entertaining. I really, really, really liked him when he was in Pittsburgh.
There's a lot to like about Fleury. I really like Fleury as well. And just, his character is just... I just love his character, too. He's a little jokester in the dressing room. You can tell that a lot of his teammates love him.
Yeah.
So there's lots to like about him.
Again, it's not a trade that guarantees an upgrade.
Right.
But I think it's a trade that may financially make sense for the Avs. It may financially make asset sense for the Avs, too. Because you'd obviously send... I would imagine you'd send Francouz the other way or Grubauer the other way, because Vegas would need a backup, because I don't think they have an option. And they could go get one, I guess, but they currently have Fleury and Lehner. So, they kind of would need a replacement if they traded Fleury. But at the same time, they got Garrett. Well, I guess he's UFA, actually. I was going to say Garrett Sparks, but he's a UFA.
They still have Subban?
No, he went to the Lehner. Or
right,
the Lehner trade.
Right.
Right. So it's just what happened on Saturday with the signing of Jarry and Lehner was even more so. The goalie market just became even more saturated. And again, we talked about free agency being the goal. Like, again, it's hard to go get a goalie and, in my opinion, have him play well the very next season.
Yeah.
It's something that I've watched happen far too many times, and it feels like they take a season or at least a majority of their first season to actually settle in and play in that system. So that's why any goalie move, I think, is a very big gamble. I'm not kicking Grubauer and Francouz to the curb. I'm not doing that. I'm still gonna back them.
If anything, we're the only ones uplifting them and supporting them. If you look at fucking 70% of this fan base, a lot of you guys do not want them here, right? So
it's
or don't think they're capable.
It's weird to watch Twitter like that.
Yeah. I mean, that could just be the Twitter.
But it's crazy because Devin Dubnyk's available. Devin Dubnyk's rumored to San Jose right now, basically a done deal. There's still no rumors. There's still no extension for Markstrom.
Yeah.
Right, and if you think Markstrom goes to market and is even close to $5 million, you're insane.
That would be a good deal.
I don't imagine he's gonna be 10.
Yeah. I think, honestly,
but he's probably 8.
Yeah, and I think, since price and not based on play, just contract wise, it's so hard to spend that much on a goalie, and I just don't see it happening these days.
It's crazy to have $10 million in goalies.
Yeah.
Never mind goalie.
Right. And if you look at a lot of the successful teams when it comes to goaltenders, they're not even spending that much, right? So,
well, I mean, you look at contenders, right? Like now, I guess if we go to Tampa Bay, Vasilevsky's a weird case because he just got to was this the first year of his deal, or is next year?
I was hoping that you would have known because I can't remember.
So 2020, 2021 is Vasilevsky's first year at $9.5 million.
Right.
So on paper, he wasn't a high-paid goalie because he was only making $3.5.
Mm-hmm.
But he also had in his pocket a $9.5 per year deal, which is a lot of money. It's basically Carey Price money. It's basically Bobrovsky money for a goalie that's been a Vezina finalist 3 years in a row.
Right. See, like he's in a way
still in his prime.
He's a different case when it comes to spending a lot because he deserves that.
I mean,
and he's worth that.
Carey Price deserved it too, and Bobrovsky did too,
for sure.
That's the thing. That's what's the weird part of another thing about goaltending, because we're just weird beasts. But just because they're worth it doesn't mean you can win, because the biggest place you can get that boost, quote unquote, to your salary cap is a goalie that's on fire, like Hudobin.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I don't think the Avs should go sign him, but he is also a free agent too. Mm-hmm. Hudobin, I guess if this is Monday and you're listening, in 5 days is a free agent out of Dallas.
Right.
I don't think he's going to make $8 million a year.
Probably not.
But he may make $5 million.
Yeah.
And if he makes $5 million, that makes Lehner's deal look even better. But again, I feel like recency bias is what makes Lehner's deal look good. And again, I think I've said it before, all the power to him, because he deserves everything he's gotten. Robin Lehner, I'm talking.
Hell yeah.
Because he has gone to rehab. He has fixed his life. He has really rounded himself into a good NHL goalie from where he was in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. But it's been 2 seasons of this. That's it.
Right.
And it's buyer beware, in my opinion. It may work out really well for Vegas. It may work out really poorly for Vegas. And as an Avs fan, I hope poorly.
Yeah.
As a fan of the man, Robert Lehner, I hope it works out great.
Right.
And it's super cool to see him happy, see him locked in somewhere, because that was the most important thing, or he would have left Vegas. There's no way he could have got more. I'm sure of it.
I'm sure too, right? You'd think.
But again,
obviously he wants to be
every
there
player that stays with their team could have got more on the market. Every single one.
Nathan McKinnon.
It's very much but like Markstrom, I think will be the very same thing. And like we kind of talked last weekend to Elijah.
Yeah.
Markstrom needs to be careful with taking a discount in Vancouver because he's probably getting traded.
It's possible, point. Right? For sure, because we all know who or how Demko played this year, and
right,
yeah,
in his brief stint. So it's one of those things, and again, I'd love the Avs to make a push for Markstrom.
Yeah,
I would, but I really find it hard to believe he's going to make it to Friday. Really find it hard to believe. And the free agents, the actual free agent list goalies that are available do not scream upgrades on Philip Grubauer.
Right.
I don't know. Friday's going to be interesting. Saturday, the weekend is going to be interesting. Because Sakic doesn't seem like he's one to go hunting at the top. And I don't think he needs to. I still don't think that. The trade market to me is where you go for a goalie this year. But again, I don't know. I don't know where you go. That's why I kind of started with Fluery, because Fluery is a 2-year deal, and that gets you to the point where kind of we're looking at Landeskog, Makar, and that's when you see the big tickets in Colorado coming up and needing the money, the room to pay them. And if Fleury's not performed, then it's an easy see-buy here's $7 million coming. But
Right.
again, it's hard to say like trade Grubauer in a package for Fleury because I don't think Vegas really wants that anyway. Like I don't think they want that kind of backup to Lehner. But the Avs got to get rid of one guy, and it's just weird. It's just I don't know. It's hard to gamble with a guy like Grubauer, in my opinion, because he was good. Like when he was healthy, he was exactly what the Avs needed.
Yeah, and
he didn't have to be a stud. He didn't have to be.
And it's not the same kind of off season for the Avs this year, right? Because there's not these holes that we can, see with the like.
It's not 3 forward lines of holes,
right? Like there's a lot less that we need. Like in my opinion, so I don't know what Sakic has got up his sleeve. I think the magnitude of signings / trades will be a hell of a lot less than what we saw last year. So it's going to be interesting because, we talked a lot about that Nemestikov trade at trade deadline. I feel like those are the kind of tweaks that we're going to probably see a little bit more of this offseason. I'm not saying there's not going to be anything that's going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be a few moves. Few moves out there. So yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see because it's really hard to even catch a rumor of what the hell, they're thinking of doing. So it is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it because I believe in Joe. So, that everybody knows that we believe in Joe because we've, should have been up there for GM of the year. Should have been up there for that. What did he finish 5th or whatever? That was Bed.
That was Bednar.
Yeah,
I don't even know if I saw those votes.
Right, we were talking about that.
I was trying to find them, but
think we saw them.
But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, this week's gonna be interesting. Like next week's podcast is gonna be a long one, I would imagine. I'd expect, like I really do. I expect Sakic to make some moves, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday, Saturday, because he's gonna make some signings for sure.
Yeah.
Whether we hear if Nichushkin gets extended or Burakovsky or Jost by then, I doubt because they're RFAs and they don't have to be signed.
Right.
I believe they have to be qualified before that.
Yeah, I think so.
But that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That being said, Burakovsky and Nichushkin have ARB rights. Kamenev has ARB rights, but he's already gone, so I don't imagine he'll be using those.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're qualifying him. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks here. And, I mean, I guess I forgot Ryan Graves, too. And Zadorov.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Those two are RFAs, too. I forgot. I remember Graves was, but I forgot about Zadorov.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, the Graves and the Burakovsky situation, because for a damn fact that both of those guys are getting raises. And, in my opinion, they're staying here, because I don't know how the hell you get rid of either of those guys.
You got to be nuts.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Especially looking at Graves.
Yeah, what a fucking year he had.
Dude.
Yeah. And you saw that in the playoffs too, how much he stepped up as well, especially with Johnson going down. Like he took on a bigger role, and you just see it throughout the whole year. Like he outperformed anybody's expectations.
Definitely.
And really put himself into that kind of top 4 in the Avs. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, yeah, so hold on your hats. Here we go.
Here we go.
Silly season is coming full force this week. And we'll wrap it up next week on the Offside by a Mile podcast. But thanks for listening today, and we will see you next week. The biggest thing you can do to support us is by going to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and giving us a 5-star rating. Also, if you're looking to donate to the network, visit the Hockey Podcast Network's Patreon page. All donations go straight to the podcast host. Thanks, and see you next episode.
You're listening to the Hockey Podcast Network on Twitter @HockeyPodNet. New episodes every Monday and Thursday. Download at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com or wherever you get your podcasts from.